My name's John Baines and we are today at Shorncliffe.
And so, Mr. Baines, you're part of a group that reenact First World War soldiers.
That's right, yes we are.
And which regiment do you represent?
We represent the Royal Sussex Regiment.
And what was their history during the First World War?
The Royal Sussex Regiment expanded during the First World War from 4 basic battalions up to 23 battalions and served everywhere from India through to France and Belgium and down into Gallipoli and the Gallipoli Peninsula.
And your group, what does it actually do? How does it bring the First World War alive to people in the 21st century?
We're a living history group, so we don't do battle reenactments. Our purpose is more educational than battle reenactments. So our reason for being is first of all to give people an understanding of what the dress and the equipment looked like during the First World War, the sort of drill that the army was doing at that point in time, and just some understanding of what the troops actually went through when they got sent to either the Western Front or wherever it was that they were particularly sent.
It must be quite a difficult experience to convey almost 100 years on.
Yes, it is a difficult experience. We're hoping that our experience certainly is going to be improved by today by actually viewing the trenches that are here at Shorncliffe, or the remains of the trenches that are here at Shorncliffe. We've obviously had some experiences over in France, and we've been to 1 or 2 places where trenches are preserved over there. But when you see something that actually is, rather than being a modern preservation, it is a period trench, it gives you more of an understanding of what the chaps went through and where they spent their war.
And how much interest do you think there is in the First World War today?
I think the interest in the First World War today is absolutely colossal. I think it's been fuelled by the fact that obviously we've been through the 90th anniversary of both the beginning and the end of the First World War. Now, families are taking a great interest in researching their family history and the relatives that either took part or may have indeed died during the course of the First World War. And I think as we reach the end of the period with our last couple of remaining veterans who actually have first-hand knowledge of the period, the interest is actually increasing almost year on year.
And although you're portraying a soldier from Sussex, your family's actually from Kent, aren't they?
That's correct. My family actually hails from the Chilham-Chartham area, and my grandfather during the course of the First World War was actually a Kent cyclist.
What do you mean by a Kent cyclist?
There were cyclist battalions started around the country in various places, and certainly in Kent and Sussex, originally the cyclists' raison d'etre was to be like a kind of home guard for the First World War period, and being on cycles they were mobile, they could move around the coastal areas, they could keep an eye for German troops perhaps trying to make a landing somewhere on the coast and those sort of things. But as the war progressed and the need for men obviously increased overseas, they were gradually dismounted from their bikes, and indeed the Kent cyclists actually ended up spending from mid-1916 to the end of the First World War and beyond in India, and they ended up in 1919, in fact, on the northwest frontier.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. Detail. Detail will fix bayonets. Fix. Bayonets. Up. Slow. Out. Detail. Detail. Order. Arms. Stand at. Ace. Detail. Detail. Shut. Slow. Arms. Detail. will present arms in general salute. Present! Up! Slow! Up! Detail will unfix bayonet. Unfix! Bayonet! Up!
Hello, I'm Ross Stenner.
And Ross, you're dressed as an infantryman from the First World War. Can you tell me where you obtained the uniform from?
Numerous sources, including handmade by myself or by friends, through word of mouth, auction sites, that sort of thing.
And can you tell us a bit about the equipment itself? Can you start with the rifle?
Certainly. This is a short magazine Lee Enfield #1 Mark III Star, which is the simplified war manufactured one. 10 rounds of .303 in the magazine, bolt action rifle, quite rapid fire. 15 rounds a minute was your average infantryman's rate of fire.
And is it quite easy to use? Was it reliable?
It was reliable, much more reliable than a number of the other rifles in the mud. It was well looked on for a number of years and probably one of the longest serving types of rifle in the British Army.
And for close quarter combat you've got a bayonet as well, haven't
Oh
you?
yes. We have the 1907 pattern. No, it isn't.
And that would have been pretty lethal at close quarters, yeah?
Yes, although there were relatively few wounds with bayonets.
And if you needed to dig in, you've got a trenching tool?
We have an entrenching tool. We have that in two parts. We have, with the bayonet there, the handle is attached here. Which was also used on trench raids, where you didn't want to make too much noise.
It could be a nasty club then, could it?
Oh yes. And then you have the other part in here. Probably not a useful thing when you're trying to dig an 8-foot trench, but better than nothing.
And also a gas mask.
A gas mask, indeed. The PH helmet, which is held in this small brown case. Even in the days of the box respirator, these were still held by troops who preferred it. You often see photographs of them with both the small box and this.
And what's it like to wear? It must be quite claustrophobic.
It's quite claustrophobic. It steams up very easily, and I don't know how effective it will be. After a small amount of time it will dry out if you're in very hot weather and it has to be kept moist.
What's the uniform itself like to wear? Is it comfortable?
It's very comfortable actually, although the material is quite itchy. On a cold day particularly it's quite warm. Even in hot weather it's not too bad.
And in winter you'd have had a greatcoat on.
Had a greatcoat. You might have had one of the goat skin waistcoats which stank, with the fur on the outside. Later on a leather jerkin. You would have a waterproof sheet.
And how long would a soldier expected to actually wear the same uniform without changing?
Probably most of his, until he got out of the trenches and went to the company baths. Then he'd have to he'd swap some of his uniform where it would be deloused, theoretically.
So you could end up in the same gear for a week or so, couldn't you?
Oh, and some I would think. The accounts I have come across, there are people who spent a lot longer than a week in it. Talk about smelling like polecats.
Thank you very much.
Did you have that tree out while we're in it?
Well, don't start getting bones up.
Come on, let's have a bit of shooting, guys. We'll have to put some sound effects on later. Okay, in you go. There's no danger to you.